What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Kryptonian saying here, bringing you guys another review for Black Clover chapter 329, and wow. Normally when I start a chapter review off with wow, I'm usually at a loss of words, but this time I'm genuinely at a loss of words because I have such mixed emotions about this chapter, 2 chapters in a row. After last week, the idea of Lucifero falling in battle, it didn't seem that crazy to me. I was on the other side of the social media hate mob that came for Tabata's head and soul based off of what I personally saw last week, but after this week, I'm more so in the middle than ever before. Lucifero swearing he's going to come back for vengeance, 2 times stronger than he currently was. That has potential if Tabata chooses to go that route. However, if Asta really did hand down that finishing blow to Lucifero, who wasn't even at full power, now I'm going to be a little disappointed. I'm not going to go as far as some people who claim that this is Grand Magic Games level of a disaster, nor am I going to state that this just threw away all the tension that's been built up with the devils we've seen so far and the whole war against the Spade Kingdom's devils. I'm not going to go that far. However, this does give me the same feelings that I personally had back in 2014 when Madara, after so much buildup, was betrayed by Zetsu and Kaguya and was defeated 2 months later in real time. It felt like we were on a very wild ride, and then all of a sudden the ride just stopped and you had to get off right when it was getting good. I kind of feel like that's just what happened with Black Clover, and how Tabata handles this resolution of these events is going to be very key for the story going forward. Is Lucifero going to return to the underworld and then come back at some point later on in the story with his full magic power? Are Asta and a few big ball warriors like Yami just gonna go raid the underworld themselves and take them down? Is the other Supreme Devil who started clapping at the end of the chapter going to be revealed as a new antagonist? Perhaps even the new Devil King themselves. There are a few different ways that this could go in terms of the story, and for better or worse, depending on how this is handled, it's going to determine whether or not this was a good arc or not. The only real good thing I can say about this chapter, in my opinion, is that once again, the art absolutely slapped. It was very detailed, and then Tabata's skill when it comes to drawing team battles is pretty damn amazing in my opinion. Now that my initial thoughts about the chapter itself are out of the way, let's back up a little bit and take a deeper look at the chapter in chronological order. The chapter opens up with Lucifer in a complete state of shock, struggling to comprehend how Asta and Libe, 2 beings who are without magic, are able to not only take him down even though he's using 50% of his power, but there's also a very nice artistic choice here by Tabata to have Asta and Libe's faces shaded out as Lucifero looks down at them. It's through that scope that we as the reader are able to see Asta and Libe in the same way that Lucifero does. He's so blinded by his rage and his superiority complex that he doesn't even see their faces. It's just a blur. Very brilliant touch right there. And that also shows that it was intentional just based off of how overdone the shading is done for their faces. They're above him, yet he doesn't truly acknowledge them. There are no faces being burned into his memory at this humiliating moment for Lucifero as a character. All he sees are bugs that have to be squashed that dare stand over him, which is exactly what he does with his next few steps. He begins to crush them. With a shout of rage, Lucifero unleashes a wave of gravity magic that has Asta and Libe face first into the ground, producing so much gravity that Asta is still shocked that Lucifer still has that much power left in him, and Libe doesn't have enough anti-magic to coat both of their bodies with it. As Lucifer once again begins to raise up and begin floating, things are returned to their natural order for the time being. Ants are being crushed beneath them just as he feels that they should be. However, this is where that fatal character flaw that so many Shonen Jump antagonists have, and it's finally being put on full display here. Instead of finishing the job or just outright retreating, he's taking the time to run his mouth, letting them know that next time he's going to unleash his full power when he returns. And all while he's doing all this talking, the other devil that's on the battlefield is just watching everything, observing the situation completely with disinterest, almost as if he's seen the next few moves that are about to happen, which is very fitting. He's watched everything carefully, whereas Lucifero has let his arrogance lead to his downfall and blind him to what's getting ready to happen underneath his very nose. It's one of the reasons why I stand by if this Supreme Devil does end up being the next antagonist, this is going to be a very deadly character. First, you have Yami and Noct, who are vowing to surpass their limits as they begin to show that even if every bone in their bodies is crushed, their will to fight's never going to die out. Hence why both of them display the heart of a hero. After all, what do they look like being shown up by their subordinate Asta, who despite everything that's just happened to him right then and there, is finding the willpower to stand up on his own 2 feet as well. As Asta lifts his sword, Yami remarks that Lucifero must be experiencing true terror, and what I like about this is that it shows once again that Lucifer's fatal flaw is at hand here. He once stated that he was going to acknowledge them, but instead of a full-on retreat or crushing those who he can crush, he continues to run his mouth and yap about returning at some point with his full power, all because Yami dared to insult his pride. This is a 400 level IQ move by Yami. It's so simple that it's brilliant, because by attacking Lucifer's ego, he's now forced him to divert his attention away from Asta. It was in those few very precious seconds that he took his eyes off of Asta, and Yuno was finally able to move Asta in position to land what might have been a finishing blow on Lucifero, and Asta's attack lands with enough force that it legit leaves everybody on the battlefield stunned by what they've seen. Lucifer looks like someone just doused him with holy water and forced him to recite several Hail Marys, all while holding a cross. Meanwhile, the Supreme Devil on the battlefield has begun to clap and acknowledge Asta as the victor. The chapter ends off here, and this is where the next chapter is going to make or break things. If the Supreme Devil is what I feel he might be, a Gin Ichimaru type from Bleach, then we're going to learn that there was a hidden motive behind all of his actions during this fight. If he's truly evil, then we have a new big boss to deal with. If he's someone who somehow manages to retreat with Lucifero, then our heroes have managed to escape with their lives, and now becomes a situation where they have to prepare for a counterattack from Lucifero at some unknown point, and now they at least know where they stand at. Now, the question for that last option is, why would this other Supreme Devil, who hasn't really engaged in any type of fighting, why would he flee? Unless one, it's a Gin Ichimaru situation, or two, he's unable to fight at full power as well and feels that he might be outclassed by the combatants that are on the battlefield, which is going to be a huge threat without any real explanation. I'm waiting to see if that's going to be the case. If this is truly the end of Lucifero and we don't see him ever again, I'm going to be blunt. He was underwhelming as a villain, but if the King of the Devils was this underwhelming despite all the build-up and all the potential, where does Tabata really go from here unless you start dealing with angels? That's the only saving grace I see. I don't know. It doesn't feel like this is the end of the character. It feels like this is just a prelude to a bigger clash that's coming down the line. However, that's just my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys think. Is Lucifero wasted as a villain? Let me know down in the comment section below. So always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.